Okay.
Hello.
So, I'm Morgan and this is Jake, and we might be live. And we don't know even if we are.
Hey, Morgan,
Uh,
hold up 3 fingers.
3 fingers. Do you have a Facebook window open?
Ah, there you are. Hi.
Hi.
So there's a little bit of a delay.
Okay.
Okay, there's about a 1 minute delay.
Hey, I see you. You guys are, I see you on my phone. I see live, but there's one person at least looking. It might be just me.
Yeah, there's one.
Okay, if you say so. Hey, Scott Tesler commented on your video in Merch Watchdogs. Hey, Scott. I hope you're still there. This is our first time of me actually doing this, so thanks for bearing with us here. Okay, I'm going to go to Facebook Live on my phone. For Merch Watchdogs, I mean. Let's see if I can see. I can't see us at all, but how do you know if you're being seen?
Well,
I'm on my phone, and you're there.
You can see us?
Yeah.
I might be the one person who's watching live.
Yeah, there's like a 30-second delay, but you guys are.
Yeah. So I think, well, it's probably good, Dave, that you're managing communication.
I got a text message from my husband. He said, you are live.
Well, good. Hi, everybody. Whoever everybody is.
Okay. Go ahead, Jake.
So, do we want to just jump into the substance?
Well, here's my plan. Just for, I think it's going to take maybe like a minute to give people a chance to get here and to know that we are actually live and on screen and everything. So I just wanted to go over real quick what our agenda is for tonight, or at least our draft agenda. And certainly it's up to how many people log in to ask additional questions of Jake here, who's given up his time to help us. And so our general agenda is to introduce the speakers and to present the agenda, which I'm doing right now. And we want to give a quick overview of what Merch Watchdogs is about, because we had a lot of members join just in the last, I don't know how many days or weeks. So just a real quick overview of that, bring everybody up to date and give you some updates, and then do the live Q&A with Jake. He's a trademark attorney and he can answer all kinds of cool questions. And then I've got some neat announcements, but I'll save that for the end because I think they're here for Jake, not for all my excitement about all the stuff that we're doing. So that's that.
Very good.
So Jake, I was going to have Dave do this, but since we haven't been able to figure out how to get him on the screen yet, he is here, folks, and we might just have to interview him or something. Do you want to do an overview of what Merch Watchdogs is about? I feel like you'd probably be more concise than I am.
Wow. Okay. Dave?
Or Dave, you want to take that?
Do that? No, I don't want to. I want the people that are on screen to do that.
Okay. Very good. Well,
tell people, how did you get involved in this? Because
you know what? That is exactly where I was going to go. What I can tell you about Merch Watchdogs is what I know about Merch Watchdogs. I came late to the party. I found out about this group earlier this year when I started trying to sell t-shirts, and my wife started selling t-shirts, and we found that, hey, there's a lot of legal problems in the merch community. And, you know, when you're on the chats, every now and then you'll see something scroll by about takedowns. You'll see something scroll by about trademarks. You'll see something scroll by about copyrights. And my wife said, Jake, this is what you do. And I said, well, okay, let me take a look. And, you know, wives are wonderful because they are far more interested in things before they reach our interest level thresholds. And she was all over it. And she would send me messages that were coming through and say, oh, you got to see this, you got to see that. There's this guy, Ken Reel. You gotta get into his group. They're the merch watchdogs. And man, they seem like they're really riled up about what's going on. So I got involved. I sent a message. Ken reached back to me. We talked a little bit about what I did. We talked about the problems that he was seeing. And he said, give me some solutions. What would you do? So we went back and forth, and I talked about how I do what I do. And I did some more research on how this would apply to shirts and DMCA and other stuff that we deal with now. And he said, that's great. You should come on. People have a lot of questions. And that's what started me. Every Tuesday, I do a little broadcast where I answer questions that people have about merch and PODs and all that good stuff, especially focused on intellectual property. That's copyrights and trademarks. And so now step 2. So
let me interrupt you.
Yes.
The Q&A that you do on Tuesdays, or the talking that you do on Tuesdays, that's on the Trademark Owl on your Facebook group. And I really want to encourage people to join Jake's group, because you need to understand, you don't have, you understand this. Don't take that like I think you're stupid, okay? I listen to those just carrying my phone around. You don't have to be watching the screen. You're going to learn so much just listening to Jake talk. So it's kind of like a podcast, but it's on video. Okay, so go ahead from him.
Well, thanks.
Jake's in the room! Yes! Okay. Woohoo!
Appreciate the promo. Please listen. It doesn't cost anything, and you'll learn stuff. And if you want to be interactive about it, I give you my email address on the show, and you can send in your questions, and hey, on the next show, your question will get answered. So my goal, Ken is such a great guy. If you don't know him, you'll get to know him through communications and different things that go on, but he's such a great guy, and he's really there to help. He's made it in this environment, and I think he's come to realize that the more people that are involved in it, the more useful, and I'm going to use the word powerful, and you'll know why as we go along in this conversation, but the more people that are involved, the better it's going to be for all of us. Okay, so then there's these initiatives, right? So Merch Watchdogs decided that they were going to start doing letters of protest, which is a procedure at the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office where anybody can present a challenge to an application for trademark on certain grounds, and we'll talk about that a little bit later too. And they started out just doing them by hand, and now they've got some organization behind it. They've got some good instructions there on the Merch Watchdog site around it. And Morgan will certainly speak to that a little bit more in a little bit. So that's, sort of step 1 was I was introduced to it. Step 2 is they started doing some legal-ish initiatives, and now we're doing actual legal initiatives. And we have picked out our first target group of, let's say, hostile trademark owners, or potentially or seemingly hostile trademark owners that we're going to go after legally. We're going to go after them at the CTAB. We'll talk about what that is. We're looking at how we can go after them in federal court for some of the things that are going on. And we're looking forward to some face-to-face conversations with these people. Maybe we won't have to go through all the court trials and all that good stuff, but maybe we will. So we're prepared for battle, and we're prepared to win. And we'll talk about all of that in just a little bit. And that's what and that's what the Watchdogs group means to me.
That's great. I want to ask Dave, since you're here, since we got you on the screen, this is so exciting. And we had one of our previous videos somebody said, well, who's Dave and Morgan? Because really, nobody came to the group because of us. They came because of, and he's at a hockey game tonight. So why are we here? So Dave, how did you get involved in Merch Watchdogs?
Well, it's probably a very similar story to Jake. I went to law school. I'm just kidding. It's nothing. It was nothing like that. Somebody tried to trademark my best-selling shirt, darn it. And I didn't like that. And I'm like, hey, they're going to take me down. That's going to stink. Well, Ken Reel, there's actually two people in the Amazon world that I listen to. If they say do it, I just do it. And it's Chris Green and Ken Reel. Yeah. And, Chris, I've followed for years. Retail arbitrage, online arbitrage. And then I was so dumb when he said do merch by Amazon like 2.5 years ago. And I'm like, wow, T-shirts? I don't know. I'm not a designer. Oh, heck. Boy, was I stupid because, he was right. So, and then I got involved with just designing. And then Ken made this post and I read it and I said, that's a great idea because I need to keep my T-shirt live. Well, luckily, Ken and Morgan put out this great material for learning how to submit letters of protest. So I just did one. I'm like, well, what are they going to do? Deny it? And that's the worst that's going to happen. And they didn't. They accepted it. And then I got hooked. It was sort of like, designing T-shirts and uploading them gets you hooked. For me, I like doing that. And I like filing those letters of protest. And what I really like is when the trademark hammer comes and kills it. Yes. It's my very popular trademark hammer. So, and I just did more and more of them, and I just started answering questions in the group. But really, it's because of Morgan and Ken and their initial training that I got involved. When you see some success, you keep going. So, I'm just like everybody else in the group. I've got a small business in this area, and I want to protect it. That's it.
Awesome. Well, you guys already know my story, but I'll try to make it real short just for people that might not know. I got into Merch Watchdogs because of Ken Reel, and I was in Amazon FBA before that. I had gotten a merch account because of Chris Green, but I really hadn't done much with it. And so that's why last year when Ken was trying to get people mobilized about this issue, I kind of went, well, I can tell you're upset about that, but I didn't really understand the scope of the problem. And since I really didn't have very many shirts, it didn't affect me. And then this past February, really just a series of circumstances led to me stumbling across another Ken's post. And it just happened to be at a time when I had decided I'm going to take a week off from Amazon FBA and just chill. And I read his post on Monday, and I spent the rest of that week. The more I spent poring over the USPTO paperwork and learning about it, the more I actually got disturbed, not just about the impact to the merch by Amazon people, but to all my friends at Amazon FBA. There's so many people that have helped me there. And I had such respect for Ken. And the more I just was blown away by how big this issue is and how many people it affects and how people could actually go bankrupt because of it. I'm not exaggerating this. My dad's a bankruptcy attorney, so I know what I'm talking about there. And it just grieved me. I literally lost 5 pounds that week. I forgot to eat. I was so consumed by, this has to stop. This is, like Jake's talking about, we women get a hold of this stuff, sometimes to our detriment. Well, I'm thankful for Ken Reel. He has got such a great, let's take baby steps and just one thing at a time. Rome wasn't built in a day. And so he's helped me kind of dial it back and just go, okay, well, what can we do? We can't contact everybody that's an FBA seller and say, hey, you've got to join our group, but we can at least do something. And because of my prior legal experience and with the government, I knew how to I knew how to read the phone tree. I mean, it's not a great skill, but it's something you get when you work for the government. And so I was able to contact the USPTO, and they have bent over backwards. I get so disturbed when I read comments in our group about, hey, isn't the USPTO ever going to do their job? When the fact is it's us that has not been doing our job. And maybe, Jake, you could speak more to that about our responsibility as merch designers. What's our responsibility in all of this trademark process?
Well, what we've come to realize is that PTO appreciates certain things that we provide. I mentioned earlier that the letter of protest is wide open to the public. And I joked with Ken that, you know, even a guy that's living on the street that looks up and realizes that a billboard is inappropriate, and for some reason at the library realizes that there's a trademark application that fits with that inappropriateness, that guy can send a letter in. And PTO is going to recognize that because that guy has a certain perspective, what he sent, and he took the initiative to send it in, it has value to them. And especially if it has value to them for reviewing those trademark applications, they're going to love it, and they're going to want them to send more in. So not to compare us too directly to homeless guys, but we have a perspective. And as merchants, I look at some of you guys that are, you know, that have 5,000 products up, and I look at how you do what you do, and you're very diligent and disciplined, and you're reading all kinds of different resource inputs. I don't want to name off any websites that are not Watchdog, but you're looking at all these different inputs, and now you're looking at TSDR, which, you know, 5 months ago, if I would have spoken about TSDR, which is where you manage the process of applying for a trademark with the Patent and Trademark Office, if I would have spoken about that, it would be a foreign language to so many people. But now there's so many people, I'm seeing posts that say, hey, I was looking at TSDR and I saw where this, that, and the other thing. You guys are getting a really broad perspective from inside of Amazon, inside of Etsy, inside of e-commerce in general. You are where so many other things will be going in the future. And when we send in something that says, hey, this trademark looks fishy to me, and we give, you know, reasons for it that fit with what PTO wants to hear, they really appreciate that, because it's a perspective that they're never going to get from their chairs in Virginia. So, yeah, when she says that it's really us who should step up, we have the opportunity to step up. And Dave can speak to this a bit, but it doesn't take a lot of time to do a letter of protest, and you can volunteer to do a letter of protest on something that has absolutely nothing to do with your products. But everything that you do for the community benefits the community. And, you know, that's where I live at this moment. So, Dave?
Right.
Oh, okay. Me. Yeah, you know, I like everybody, you're a little apprehensive when you first go to that page where you can fill out the form. You get a little bit ways down and, wait, I've got to submit evidence. I better go gather that first. And what do I type in here? Well, the good news is if you go to the files section of the Merch Watchdogs group, you're going to find all the files you need. There's the text in there that you can use as the legal basis. And then there's a lot of explanations, different explanations on a process you can follow to gather evidence. And there's different ways to gather evidence and a different amount that you need depending on where the trademark is in the process. And here's the thing, actually, I want to kind of throw out there to the folks that are watching, is that a lot of times when I read the posts in the group, I see people acting like lawyers and saying this, in my humble opinion, that, and they're like, well, you know, stop thinking like a lawyer. That's why we have Jake. Jake's a great lawyer. Let him think like the lawyer. You know what I think like? I think like a bureaucrat. I know that the USPTO is a process. There's a whole boatload of people that go there every day, leave every night, go cook dinner, barbecue on the weekends. They're just people like us. And they, because it's a bureaucracy, follow the bureaucratic process. And within that process, there's a lot of specialization. People do different things. It's not like us. I'm a one-man show. I do everything. All right, I do have a VA, and she's better than I am. But you know, that's the idea, is that as a business owner, I have to jump into everything. But in the trademarking process, it doesn't work that way. There are people that do certain things. And we, as folks, we have a really great free way to go in and influence this process. It's really the only thing under our control, our ability to file a letter of protest. And they make it very simple for you to do. And what you're going to do when you fill out this letter of protest and gather the evidence, which we can show you on another video, or as I said, go to the files section and you can read about it. Somebody's going to get that information and they're just going to look at it and they're going to decide, was this evidence good enough to forward to an examining attorney? They're not the examining attorney. They don't make the final decision. What they're doing is passing along the paperwork in the chain, in the process. And the earlier you do it in that process, the better. And the good news is the earlier you do it in the process, the less evidence you need. Once it gets closer to the opposition, and I'm jumping ahead a little bit, and Jake can explain more about the process. But if it publishes to opposition, you need a lot more evidence. It needs to be a lot more compelling, and it has to go to a higher standard. But if you look in the ear table, you can see some of the evidence that I've submitted to the USPTO that has gotten trademarks essentially stopped. And really it was 4 screenshots. 4. We can all do 4 screenshots. It's really easy to do. And then it's a matter of cutting and pasting text, putting it in a form, and submitting it. And as I've said on in text, but I'll say it live, is that if anybody needs help doing it the first time, call me. We'll screen share. I'll show you how to do it. It's really, really simple. But don't be afraid to do the first one. There's a ton of us in the group that know how to that want to participate, but I think there's a little bit of apprehension and fear. Reach out. We'll help you through this part. This is the best thing we can do for ourselves as a group, is stop frivolous trademarks even before they're examined, or I shouldn't say stop, at least submit evidence before they're examined. So good. I'm off my soapbox.
Okay. I just looked at the time. People are here for the Q&A, and I haven't even got to that part yet. I want to do 2 things real quick. A shout out to all our new members. We are almost at 2,800 members in our group, and I think that is so exciting because it's really kudos to all of you that are watching or are going to watch this. I want to especially welcome Jill from Oliver and Olivia, and some of you may know that name. We had actually mentioned her on one of our previous videos as, hey, here's one of these trolls. I'm not going to name names. Oh, don't do that. We didn't know.
I didn't know. I swear. I didn't know.
And the reason I bring that up is that I've seen this happen so many times in the group, and I've been guilty of it myself. We see somebody filing multiple trademarks and think, oh, well, there's another troll. Well, you don't know her backstory, okay? And we don't have time to go into the whole thing here, but I just want to tell her thank you for joining, and you're in a good place. And folks, we need to reach out to the people that are doing these multiple trademarks. I guarantee you a lot of them do not realize there's a different way to do this. Many of them are being proactive, trying to protect themselves from the bad guys. And we need to recognize that has become a big part of the problem as well, okay? So thanks to not just Jill, but all of our new members. We are making great progress. I wanted to, if you just in one quick sentence, Dave, update us on the Mama Bear and the Unicorn Squad. Did both of those get filed, or where are you at on those? Those have been published.
Yeah, so just so the new people and people that aren't following along, these were almost published for opposition. At least Unicorn Squad was just published for opposition on the 5th. I filed that mega protest with a huge assist from Morgan on the 4th. So it got in before the protest period. So it goes in under the lower standard of evidence. We have like almost 60 pages of evidence. We've got, if it doesn't work, I'm not sure that the next bite at the apple that we get in the 30-day post-publication period, I don't know if it'll do any better or not. I really hope this works. Mama Bear I'm on the very last part of the index. Just for you, you know what I'm talking about, Morgan. But when you have to get the brands and put them in the index, Amazon is the worst. And that's the last one that I'm working on, because you have to click on every shirt and go in and then find and cut and paste the brand in. So it was all the others were a whole lot easier. So we've got another major giant protest that we're going to be able to publish long before the 19th. If I get it done today, I can send it to you, Morgan. You can look at it and find my spelling mistakes because you did exactly what you did last time. So it's like, let's make it sure Mama Bear's really good. So that one will go through too. Just as an FYI, though, we've had others, right? We've had Meowica that we've stopped. We've had Mama Bird. We've had a ton of protests. Like one of them that I just saw that was it's apropos for this time of year was Purride, for Pride Month, but with the cats, Purride. That one just got accepted. I said yes, got accepted. So as letters of protest, it doesn't mean they're stopped. They're still going to go through an examination process, but the process will have that evidence. So we're doing really good work, is what I'm saying. We're having an impact.
And the two that I'm asking Dave about, just for you newbies, those two were more extensive ones. That's not most of these, the ones that we file right when the new application is done, you don't need a ton of evidence. Right. So as Jake brought up, they're really, the USPTO is very much influenced by some outsider coming into the process and saying, hey, that's a suspicious mark. Okay, getting to the questions that have been submitted for Jake. Let me scroll to that part of my notes here. How do you judge? Oh, let me back up to this one. I thought this was a great one. Paige Parker asked, regarding the trademark for emoji, how did that get registered as a trademark? I don't know if I sent you that question ahead of time. Sorry, I should have.
You probably did, but if you go to the next question, let me do some quick research and I can tell you more about it.
Okay, you told me, Jake, the only way to really protect your creative work is to get both the trademark and the copyright, the way things stand now, because of the way the legal system is, right? If I'm understanding what we were talking about last night.
I don't want to say only, but I hear you.
But the best way to really protect, we have people saying, how do I protect my designs? Because it's copyrighted the moment we publish it, and we could file a copyright with the government office for $35 or hire an attorney to do it. Right. But what I understood you to say is that if you really want to protect it, you have to do the trademark too. But if we're not doing a brand, then we shouldn't do the trademark, right?
So
can you talk about that a little bit and explain why.
You have options. And it's not exactly belt and suspenders because it's protecting two different things, not just one. And then you can have any combination of them. And all of that has to be done in context of the value. You have to look at how many of this particular item are you selling? How well is this brand going for you? Is it accomplishing the purpose of a brand, which is to identify the source of products? So let me back up. We have two things that we can deal with primarily. There's a handful of others, but they're a little more detailed and a lot less formal. You've got copyrights and you've got trademarks. Copyrights protect designs. Trademarks protect brands. Brands are used to distribute copywritten works. Try to use non-legalese terms, but it just doesn't happen. So these things work together is part of my point there. And you can enter at any point that you want to enter. But the very best way to do this, I call it merch right. The merch right way to do this is to say, okay, as shirt designers, we develop shirts on a very regular basis. We're keeping track of our sales. And when we see that something needs to be protected because, it's the basic question. If I was to lose this, would it hurt me? Well, if it's $1,000 a month, that's going to hurt you. If it's $10 in the last 4 months, you probably don't care. So once you've made that decision, you've put some products out there, you want to look at the products that you're doing. If they're all coming from you or coming from you / your designers, there's going to be a theme behind them. And that's what you can use to make your brand. If you just so happen to be a New York Giants football fan and all of your shirts, for whatever reason, are of the red, white, and blue fashion, and they talk about things like Eli Manning, and they talk about things like that great play. Well, you know, from that, you can condense that down into a couple of words that will always point people to that type of product that you're putting out, right? So that's your brand. That's your brand. Now, on the individual shirts that you're putting out, each one of those that's actually a really good seller, you should get a copyright on that as well. So now you've got it protected with trademark and you've got it protected with copyright. Okay. Now we're about to get to the senior level of the classes here. And that's what I say. I bet Morgan, I bet you only gave me 2 minutes to answer this. I'm sorry. Senior level of this class, Amazon, Digital Millennium Copyright Act. These things, this group works with those rules, even though those rules govern copyright, to manage intellectual property disputes within Amazon. And it's the same at eBay, and it's the same at Etsy, and it's the same at all the e-commerce sites, because this is the way that they have all agreed, and it's been codified in laws, that this is how you handle copyrights. Well, there's not anything that good and clever for, or organized for, trademarks. So what judges have decided for everybody is that, okay, if the e-commerce sites manage trademarks in the same way that they manage copyrights, everybody should be happy. Well, where's my big button? Because that's not really making anybody happy. Because now you can you can take somebody's work down, somebody's copyright type works down based on a trademark, and it was never intended for that to happen. You're supposed to be able to enforce trademarks with trademarks, right? Or trademark infringement with trademarks, not copyright infringement with trademarks. But the e-commerce providers can't do anything about it because that's the instructions that the court has put in front of them. Now, that is why I say in this environment, the best thing to do, Morgan, is to protect it both with a brand that speaks to your lines of shirts or multiple brands that speak to your groups of shirts, and then protect those brands with trademarks, and then protect the individual best-selling designs with copyrights. So there's the short answer.
See, I'm glad I asked you that because I misquoted you. So thank you for clarifying that. Okay, a couple more questions that have been submitted to us. Oh, where was that one? How can I, if either one of you knows the answer to this, I don't know the answer to this question. How can I quickly search the USPTO? When I use the directions in the group to check on a phrase, sometimes it'll have 5,000 responses. Mama bear is a good example of that. You put in mama bear in the middle option there, and it came up with lots and lots. And mama bear itself, by itself, was down towards the end of the page. But why do you have to scroll through all this other stuff? Is there a way to avoid that, Jake? You should know.
Okay, well, is there a way? Yeah, there's a way to avoid that. Do searches for 10 years, and you can do them on your cell phone before the other person is finished talking about what they want to try to get trademarked. Now, if you don't have that time to invest, there are other sites, and you'll hear them mentioned, and I'm careful not to plug anything because that can always come back to haunt me. But there are other sites that are focused on the fashion community, the class 025, as it were. And those sites are great. I like them. I use them I can't use them for legal work, but I can use them for quick references. And, you know, the goal is just to be diligent, you know, to make sure, number one, to ask the question, hey, should I put this shirt up or is it already taken? And number two, to dig a little bit. right? To go ahead, still dig through tests. If you do it enough times, you'll get better and better at it. The first time you do anything, you're very clumsy. Can't help it. That's just the way we're made. But if you're doing this for yourself, you'll get to know what it is that you'll get to know the codes that are meaningful to you. You can just look in your search screen and see what it self-populates for you. And now you know you can take those things in brackets and those things in parentheses and the ands and the ors, and you can work those out yourself. So I guess short answer is you could hire somebody. There are people out there that'll do that for you. And there's a lot of us that are trying to think of how we can do that for people on a regular basis where it doesn't cost a whole lot of money, but maybe 10, 15, 20 bucks a month. If you've only got 1 or 2 shirts, please don't spend 10, 15, 20 bucks a month to pay somebody to search those. But if you've got 1,000 designs that you need to pay attention to, or if you're uploading 100 designs a month, it's probably worth your investment. I'm sure it's worth your investment because the time you're spending on it is not. So first answer was you can hire somebody to do it. Second answer is that there's some sites that already do it for free. And again, if you'll watch, somebody might even post it in the comments right now. But if you'll watch, you can see those sites that you can go to and get it done a little quicker.
And I actually have an additional answer to help out. I use a Chrome plugin. So if you go to the Chrome store and do a search for a plugin called Tangent Test. So the first word tangent, TANGENT, and then the next word is test, TESS, which is the search system for trademarking. Download that plugin and install it. And or that extension, that's what it is, and install it. And what'll happen is when you go to the USPTO website and you're actually on the site, you can type in the phrase that you're searching for, and it will automatically. That's right, I said automatically because it feels like magic to me. It will search if you check. There's only 2 check marks next to your search box. One is for clothing, one is for books. So check clothing, and it'll do, and you can check exact match, and it will look just for that phrase, and you'll get far fewer results. It's what I use all the time to find the things that I'm looking for. It really shortens your search. If you're good at search engines,
you're still there.
Oh, am I still there?
Everybody's here.
Okay. Yeah. If as Jake said, it also helps to get good at logical ands, logical ors, and know some of this other stuff, but that takes time. So at the beginning, just download that extension, Tangent Test, in the Chrome extension store. It's dead simple to use. I use it, so it's got to be simple. Okay, so that's it.
Well,
okay. Good.
Sorry, I'm closing some tabs because my computer is like locking up. So I'm hoping that will. I should have thought to do that before we got on here. Sorry. Okay.
Good.
Let's see if that makes things better.
If you see me looking down, guys, I'm trying to look in the Facebook group to see if people are asking questions to see, because I know we have a list of questions that people have pre-submitted, but I don't see any. Not yet. I don't see. See, no questions. Look at that. No questions. Skip Shoot is in there, but he just said that, Morgan, you're a rock star, and I agree. So,
You're so sweet.
A nice shout out for you. Jake, don't worry. Someone's going to say, I don't know, do you want to be a rock star? What kind of star do you want to be? Whatever it is, tell them. They'll put it in the chat room. So tons of good people in our group.
That's fun.
Okay, I'm going to... I feel real bad. This is my first time running something like this, and we're having a little bit of technical difficulties that we'll figure out. But you said shout out, and that reminded me. I want to do a shout out to the rest of our moderators because Dave and I are talking head here, and Jake too. Now you're in the group, but we have so many moderators behind the scenes at that. Mary and Brenda and Debbie and I have short-term memory issues, so I'm blaming it on that. we have a whole bunch of people that do a lot of work, and all of us are volunteers. And so don't think, Morgan and Dave are it or Ken's it. This is a team effort, and we need everybody to be involved. I did want to ask. Sorry. Here's a question I came up with. Oh, sorry, Dave. Did you have something? Go ahead.
Tanya, Monica, Cassie. Those are some other names that came into my mind, and I don't have much of one, so that's all I got.
Yeah, Tanya spent, I don't even know how many hours setting up the pay thing. And that's what I was going to ask Jake is how are things, do you have any idea where we're at on our fundraising efforts for Class C? For those that don't know, we're trying to raise up money for Class C for Jake to file a petition to cancel on that one because it has taken down so many shirts, and it's a great, what do you call that when it's like this is going to be the cornerstone case to help move things in the way the courts look at this stuff?
Precedent, if you're lucky. Precedent means that it will establish a rule that all other courts should follow, or if they don't want to just follow the rule, they'll have to relitigate the entire thing with different facts. But yeah, we actually have the opportunity. When I mentioned that this is at the cutting edge, this is part of what I mean. You guys are developing systems to figure out how to track the things that you need to track and how to modify the things that you need to modify, relationships with designers overseas and all that. Well, on the legal side, this entire legal system has got to figure out how to absorb the relationships that are created in an e-commerce environment. In a world where it takes 6 months for you to get a copyright on a design, that really doesn't fit with your world, where in 6 weeks a design might be entirely constructed from the first pencil jot and put up and perfected and published and priced and described and taken down because it didn't sell, right? The legal system has got to adapt to that. And you'll see, letters of protest, you would think, hey, I'm going to sit down and write the examiner a letter. That guy's going to open it and he's going to use it or put it to the side and maybe send me a thank you letter if he uses it. And you would think, oh, yeah, that's like a week process, maybe a week and a half. No, Dave and I were talking, and it's got to go through a lot of steps before it actually even gets to your examining attorney. That's a very slow system in a very fast world now. It's what we have, so we're going to use what we've got, and we're going to make the most of it, and we're going to do what we can to change the system. And when you file a cancellation and you're successful, that sends out vibes throughout the entire legal community. It sends vibes through the entire e-commerce community because they have, if you think we got lawyers, oh my goodness, they got stacks and stacks of lawyers in Amazon and elsewhere. And those guys get the memo as well. And, most importantly, it sends out a shockwave through the trademark holder system that says, you can no longer exploit the rules for your advantage and our disadvantage. So I think that answered the question.
I love that. Where can people go if they haven't given yet towards Class C? And let me just mention this. We did not Jake did not ask me to do this, okay? He didn't even know I was planning to do this. So don't get mad at Jake. This is such a huge effort and such a huge case. And Jake is a real live living attorney who makes his living doing this. And let me backtrack. We're really at almost an hour, but I'm going to just share real quick one reason I am so passionate about this. I started as an entrepreneur about 3 years ago. My husband drugged me into this kicking and screaming. I mean, I wouldn't say it like that. I mean, outwardly, I was, yeah, honey, sure, let's go start a business. And inside I was thinking, I don't want to start a business. I don't want to sell things. That's so sleazy. It was completely against the way my mindset growing up was, it's more blessed to give than to receive. And the Bible does say that. But I had such a twisted view of that it was ungodly to make a profit from anything. And over the course of this past 3 years, my thinking on that has so transformed in so many things. And I've grown so much as a person and started to realize real sustainable business comes when people learn to cooperate, when you build relationships. People buy from other people that they know, like, and trust. And that's why it's, when I first started this whole process, I would have been like, oh, they took my design. That's my only design. I'll never come up with another one. That was how fearful and self-limiting my belief system was. And because I've come through all this stuff and now I'm on the other side of it, I want other people to experience that. And it just rips me up to see people like Jill, who has spent blood, sweat, and tears building up a mommy blog and a real, true, sustainable business, and she's serving her customers, and then to have somebody else swoop in and steal her money, steal her work, because they want to be greedy and abuse the system. It just kills me. So I get very passionate about it. But I was going somewhere with all this, and now I lost my train of thought. So I'm not the rock star that he said I was.
Rock stars really have problems with memory. Take my word for it. It's after years on the road, and it's just you're fine as long as you could do the encore. You're still a rock star.
I think what I would what I would add to that is that Ken Reel's a regular guy. Right. He got into this business and he started realizing the problems that this business has. And he stepped up as much as he could. And what he's doing and helping us realize is that we have leverage. There are, did you say it's reached 2,500 or 3,000 members?
20. It's almost 2,800.
Okay. So there are 2,800 people like Dave and like Morgan and like myself who are my wife, who are just out there trying to, find a little something to help us get off of the rat wheel, right? We want to find a way to make some money where we don't have to go into the office 9 to 5 every single day, or even if we do spend 12 hours on this thing, we don't mind because we love doing it, right? Mm-hmm. It's a bunch of regular people who wind up having gigantic problems much bigger than themselves, problems with rulings from federal courts on congressional legislation that ties to international treaties, right? Wow, I'm just trying to sell T-shirts. So what we're trying to do is have everybody give just a little bit to do some things that are going to cost a good bit of money to accomplish. And, I always use that brick analogy where you might feel like you're just a brick, but every fortress is made of bricks. You might feel like you're just one person, but every army is made up of a whole bunch of individuals. And that's what we're just trying to do here. We're saying, okay, everybody put $20 in the pot. And Mr. Evans, until he gets so overwhelmed, is going to take that and he's going to do the things that are reasonable to do in this situation. I don't want to go through strategy specifically, but if you'll go to merchattorneys.com, you'll see the updates there. And I try to update you in a kind of a broad general way of the kind of things that the guys and I are talking about in the law firm. And I want you to know what's going on. I want you to know what's being done with that money, which is always the biggest concern, right? We want accountability. So we've got some things in place for that. And again, back to leverage and back to Morgan. If a whole lot of Morgans will get together, you guys have leverage to accomplish big things and make our lives a lot easier in the merch world. So.
Okay, wait. Yeah, merchattorneys.com. I posted the link in the Facebook group, in the post. Go to merchattorneys.com. Don't just buy one $20 donation, buy 2, buy 4, buy 10. You can do it in increments of 20. Let's get this guy going. He's offering to help. Let's get it. It's like, and then I'll sell you a used car. That'll be another broadcast in itself. But seriously, every dollar helps. It's going to take money to make this thing happen. There's fees and all sorts of stuff that needs to go down. And Jake and Monica need to eat. So let's, while they're doing it, let's help these guys out. It'll help us out. Because if we can get the Classy canceled, guess who we can go to? We can go to Amazon now and say, hey, look, look at what we're doing. And that might make an influence. I'm not saying it will, but it might make an influence of how and when they decide to take shirts down. So it just as an aside, that's already working in the book world. They have something called, there was a trademark for the word classy, and I made a long post, go read it. It's like,
you mean cocky. Classy
cocky, yeah. I'm sorry. Thank you. The cocky trademark in that world, in the romance novel world. And it actually went to federal court. I mean, the lady who owns the trademark for cocky went medieval. And I think we're going to have to go biblical on these people.
Well, okay.
Floods, plagues, whatever. But they've actually got there's a petition for cancellation for the word cocky going on. And by the way, the calendar stretches through December of 2019. So when Jake said it's a long time, yeah, it's a long time. But in the meantime, Amazon sees this as going on. They put all those books back up. They said, "Oh, okay, all right. Well, if it's cocky in the title, we can." Yeah. So we get classy. We might be able to get everybody's classy T-shirts back up, and who knows? It might change Amazon's procedures and policies. So let's get to it. Help Jake out.
Hey, let me add to that. This has been happening in the physical product world on Amazon, in the world of Amazon FBA, where somebody goes and gets their private label garlic press from China, and then somebody else says, oh, I'm going to trademark the word fancy garlic press, and yours looks just like mine, so you have to be booted off, even though you've got all this inventory. Amazon has taken those false IP infringement claims, and they've started penalizing the bad guys. So I don't have any doubt that Amazon's going to do the same thing in this situation too, but they need to know who the bad guys are, and we're showing them by our cooperation. And Jake, thank you so much. That was where I was going with that, was that we can, we all need to have that passion of let's help each other. I know, sometimes, oh, sorry, that's my alarm saying it's bedtime, so that means it's time to end this call.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's like Pavlov's dog there.
My kids make me set these alarms because otherwise they know I'll be up all night.
Good for them.
But we can't all do everything, and I know there's been people in the group saying, well, I have this issue or that issue, and I can't absorb all this information. We can all do something. Even if all you can do is get in the group once in a while and just encourage the people that are filing protests and put a like on their post when they say, hey, I got accepted, so we know that we're not alone. That's really helpful. I say we, I mean, seriously, the members. Yeah, Dave and I have filed some, but there's been a whole lot of unsung heroes in this group already who have taken that action. And it is scary the first time. One other thing, what I was going to say. So if you can give towards Classy, that would be a big help. Also, we want you to sign up. I set up just a dummy website today. We're still working on getting our actual website up, but having some technical issues there. So if you go to MWD for Merch Watchdogs, MWD.merchbff.com. That's my website, and I put a landing page just for Merch Watchdogs. You can sign up for our email group, and that way we can keep you informed on what's going on, and you're not depending on Facebook to show you the feed that you need to see or coming back to the group every day. Nobody's got time to do that.
Can you repeat that URL? MWD?
I will put it in the, I'll put it in the comments for this. It's MWD.merchbff.com. So I'm your best friend for merch, okay?
That's
so I'll
great.
do your Merch BFF and just put the MWD in front of it.
It's clearly a dummy website because I got to it.
Did you make it?
Yeah, it's working.
Well,
I'm going to go sign up. You sure you want me? I'm a dummy. Here we go.
We want everybody.
I'm in. I subscribe.
And you're not going to get spam. You're going to be lucky to hear from me for the first few weeks because I'm trying to build the website. But I really want to start collecting emails now because we do have a ton of videos on YouTube, and we've got a ton of stuff in the files, but Facebook isn't really set up to be a teaching website, or so we want to put it. I want to put it somewhere, and I know, and Ken's in agreement with this. Put it someplace where it's stupid simple to be able to find what you need quickly, so that you don't have to spend tons of time trying to navigate where's the information that you need. We want to make it easy for everybody, to empower you to defend yourselves and to really make a difference in this whole industry. So that's what we have for tonight. I don't think there's anything else. That's not all I've got in my notes. Do you guys have anything else you want to add before we close?
No, you know what? This is an opener. This is a good shot, and I hope that we can do this more often. Get together and I encourage people to send questions to me for the Trademark Owl stuff on Tuesdays, but send questions here as well. Maybe it's the right forum to answer some questions, and my thing is the right forum for other questions. But send them in, get them in here. Let's communicate.
One idea I had today, and I don't know how if I should say this live on, but here I am.
I won't listen.
What if we just scheduled this for like a once a month AMA thing, that people could know, okay, on the first Tuesday of the month or the last Friday of the month or whatever it is, pick a day that they could know, okay, if something occurs to me, here's where I can go to sign up that question. I know I can get an answer to it this month from an actual attorney. Not legal advice, but where you can clarify things for people. Does that sound like something that would work?
Yes, and not only does
I'm not asking you to commit to it. Is the concept, is that something that is a possibility?
That's pretty good. I'm glad you mentioned that.
Tuesdays, right? You're on I see you on Tuesdays. Aren't you usually on Tuesdays?
And it wouldn't necessarily be fake. It might be just questions that are really more specific to Merch Watchdogs about, where do you find the Airtable link, or, stuff like that. Yeah. Newbie questions, or maybe do a newbie webinar once a month to bring people up to date that are just new to the group. I don't know.
It's a great idea. It's a great idea. What I was interrupting about was Jake does his own, the Trademark Owl does something. You do that on Tuesdays too, but it's very specific to what your presentation of that day. You do these wonderful presentations. I think it's on Tuesdays. I get to be wrong, and you get to correct me.
I made it easy on the East Coast. It's Trademark Owl Tuesdays at 2.
Yeah.
Of course, that becomes something very different on other coasts. But most people actually, I would say that there are literally 60, 70 times as many people that watch it later than watch it live. And that's a good thing.
Yeah. So, yeah. Well, watch that Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern. And since nobody can say no to Morgan, you're gonna be on a monthly one here too. So thank you for volunteering for that.
Now, just as a disclaimer, that's subject to Jake's schedule that month.
Right.
I mean,
he's got stuff to do.
So and maybe we don't have any questions for him that month, but it's just stuff that all the moderators can answer. So that's fine too. I'm just thinking. Well, wouldn't it be good to do something like that in our group?
Absolutely. And of course, there's at least one or two more attorneys that are in the group, and we can always say that, hey, this is that person's presentation, and they can disclaim it as much as they want to, just like I disclaim everything I do. I can't give you legal advice without knowing the facts of your situation. Every legal response is entirely dependent on the facts. So. Even the things I said tonight don't just take those and run with them as though those apply to you in your legal world. They're for informational purposes, and you can always reach out and talk to me. We can talk through your issues. Don't want to do a commercial, but thank you.
Yeah. And Kevin Nooper is also part of our group. He's the attorney that filed the petition for cancellation for Cocky. And maybe we can invite him and see if he'll come on and talk to us about what's going on in the book world. That would be fantastic, too.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Okay. Well, folks, if you're watching this after the fact, you can still comment on it. Let us know what you think. And recommendations. We're new at this, you know, we're not trying to bore anybody to tears, but we also want to keep you informed. And this is so far the best way we've found to do it. Still learning how the ropes work, but I just want to thank everybody again, those that did show up, and thank you, Jake, and thank you, Dave, for all your hard work, and thanks again, big shout out to Ken Reel. He's had a great hockey game tonight, but you know, if it wasn't for him, none of us would be on this.
Right, go Golden Kniggets.
So grateful for his leadership and for all of the other moderators and for all the people that participated, and we're doing great things. I am so excited about the future and about this group, so I wish everybody have a great night, and God bless, and nighty night.
Good night.
Bye.
Say good night, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, you guys went away.